I'm James Rule. Welcome to the Lonely Leader podcast, where we help existing and aspiring leaders find clarity, build resilience, drive performance, and enhance fulfillment. Let me start this episode by asking you a question. What does your desk look like? Perhaps you're sitting at it now as you listen to this podcast, but if you're not, you'll be able to picture it. Is it tidy, organised, or is it a scene of chaos? Dirty, papers everywhere, unfinished tasks. Why do I ask this? Well, it's all linked to standards. People talk about the standards we set as a leader with our words and our actions, and they're paramount, but our environment is a barometer of the standards that we are holding ourselves to, what we will tolerate. Our environment reinforces to us our standards. And I want to explore that today because our environment will shape our focus. It'll shape our decisions. Ultimately, it shapes our leadership. And that's why, before I dive into the episode, I wanted you to think of your desk, your cubicle, if you work from that, your office, if you have an office, your study or home office. What do all of these environments look like? And what standards do they communicate? I haven't met a leader yet that doesn't want to have high standards in terms of their performance, the performance of their people, and in turn, the performance of their organization. Nobody sets out to say, yep, I want to have mediocrity, low standards in our people, in our performance, in our customer service. That's obviously stating the obvious. Nobody goes to that place. But why is it that many of us, particularly in leadership positions, seem unwilling or incapable of holding higher standards over the long term? There's definitely an element of fatigue in it. And it's not something that, in my experience, I see standards collapse overnight. But I see small changes. A conversation that needs to be had doesn't take place. Somebody's performance falls below a level and it isn't addressed. Meetings start a little bit late and a little bit later, and then it becomes the norm that all our meetings start late. Cameras are turned off in virtual meetings, where once we might have said, hey, fully present please, cameras on, let's all lock into the meeting. It becomes acceptable that cameras are off. And these slight slips in standard pop up everywhere. It's easy for me when I come in as an outside observer to challenge a leader and say, have you noticed this? And have you noticed that? And invariably they have, but they've lost a little bit of the willingness or the appetite to address it. And this is what's led me to research environment and the impact of our environment. And what's fascinating is the science says that we visually scan our surroundings more than 60 times every hour, whether we're consciously aware of that or not. And every time we glance, we orchestrate that scan, we are sending a message back to our brain. In effect, a signal about what is acceptable, what we're willing to tolerate. Now, we've all heard the notion, tidy desk, tidy mind, but I think this science really brings it to life, because if our environment is cluttered, chaotic, we're surrounded by unfinished tasks, the brain slowly adjusts to the expectation that that's the norm. We're chaotic, things don't get finished, we're disorganized. And then we almost become desensitized to it. We stop noticing it. And that's where the danger lies for me, because what we tolerate surely will become the standard. It's very hard for us to say to people, do as I say, but not as I do. People are looking, they're watching. So our environment, the simple things around our desk and how we conduct ourselves does have an impact. Now, this isn't me judging you. This isn't me critiquing you. We're all busy. But it's an area that I've become really interested in. And as with all of the subject matter with the podcast, why I wanted to share it with you, because where I found leaders telling me they're struggling with feelings of overwhelm, where I found leaders saying they're struggling to hold people to standards, I've naturally then explored their environments in a very empathetic way, being able to point out to people, let's have a look, let's go and sit together in your office, let's have a look at your workstation. And then I haven't been going back with people to their homes, obviously, but we'll talk about the homes, and invariably that disorganization, that clutter, that chaos is often permeating into their homes. There's a great book from William McRaven, Make Your Bed. You've probably heard the speech, the commencement address he did to a university at University of Texas. And he talks about the principle of making your bed, setting the standard, returning to a made bed. All ties into these same sort of themes that those leaders that I've talked about that are struggling, when they tackle that environment, when they step into that space and they organize and they declutter their office, their home office, their home, then they've felt a high level of energy. They've felt more clarity, more focus, and a much higher willingness to tackle behavior that has fallen below a certain standard. Now, it's easy to dismiss this, and perhaps in my younger years, when I first stepped into that CEO role, I would have done too. It's all a bit too wishy-washy, a bit mumbo-jumbo for me. But there is science behind this, and if you research it, you'll find it yourself. Psychologists call it environmental conditioning. They explain that your brain is constantly absorbing cues from the space around you. As we've said, that's 60 times an hour scan of your space, and then converts it into behavioral expectations. So your environment, in effect, and it's a quote that I really love from one of these particular psychologists, your environment trains you more hours per day than any mentor ever will, because invariably a mentor or a coach will be with you for a period of your day, maybe an hour, a couple of hours. Your environment, well, that surrounds you every minute that you're at work, and your home environment every minute that you're at home. So when you think about that for a minute, your office, your desk space, your car, your home, all of these environments are quietly shaping your behavior. Some are reinforcing discipline and focus, and some are reinforcing delay, distraction, compromise, because none of us want to be in a messy environment, but it is a compromise. We have compromised. Our car's in a filthy state. Our office is in a real mess. Our home is overwhelming and cluttered. All of that is impacting our mind and in turn impacting our behaviors. So I hope this intrigues you enough to stop and reflect, as with everything that we put on this podcast does, and says, I wonder if I step into those environments, improve them, declutter them, will I feel more focus, more clarity? Also, will I find that I have a higher level of energy to hold a standard for myself and also for people around me? I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love you to experiment with that and let me know the impact it has. Now, a dotted line into this around chaos and clutter and unfinished environments is to think about what inspires you, what motivates you, what brings out the best in you in terms of creative energy. Now, this is an area that, again, I'm very passionate about. Anybody that's watching this on YouTube will see there's various trinkets and things in my space. Not to clutter it, but that inspire me to bring my best self every time I step into the threshold of my office. And just to mention a few, over my shoulder, there's a small Lego giraffe. It's a random piece, but not to me, it's not. I spent a huge amount of time playing Lego with both of my daughters when they were younger, and that is one of the pieces that they cherished, one of the first things they ever made for me, and it's a gift. And so there's a natural link with my daughters there. There's a piece of driftwood that you can see that, again, my daughters picked up when we were having a fabulous walk on the beach one day, and they wanted me to have that as a little display in my office. So again, very powerful links for me back into family. I have my grandfather's service medals, which have a very powerful connection with me. I have a golf ball that I secured my one and only hole-in-one, but playing alongside my dad, just a few weeks after he secured his one and only hole-in-one. So that ball immediately takes me back to that space. And so our environment has to help inspire us. That's not to say I want you to clutter it, and I'm contradicting my first point, but it's be conscious, be mindful about what comes into your office. You can't see it on camera here, but just inside the office door, I have an embroidery of the Rudyard Kipling poem, If. I've always felt that had a huge amount of resonance with me, the words in that poem, and my mum spent a huge amount of time cross-stitching that out as a gift for my 30th birthday. And that hangs in the place that I see, first thing I see when I walk into my office each and every day. So I love the space that I'm blessed to be able to work in. And all around me, when I am, if indeed it is, as the science suggests, scanning this space 60 times an hour, I don't see clutter, I don't see chaos, I see order, I see calm, but I also see things that resonate with me on a very deep level, things that inspire me, things that anchor in my why, things that connect me to members of my family that have passed away, that connect me to the passion and the support of my daughters, that connect me to my mum through the embroidery, that connect me to my hobbies, that connect me to moments in time in my career, both in professional sport and in senior leadership. So this is an environment that I've curated over the years that brings out the best in me. And that's the fundamental question today. Is your environment bringing out the best in you? Is it driving your focus? Is it inspiring your creativity? And is it helping you set a standard that you are proud of? So if I could leave you with a leadership challenge, it would be to answer that question and to declutter, to organize, to tidy, to create a space, first and foremost, that is ordered. There's enough pressure coming at you as a leader without your environment compounding and enhancing that chaos. And the second element is to ensure that there are some items or some elements of that space that inspire you. It may be photographs, it may be physical items, as I've alluded to, but create a calm and ordered and inspirational environment so that your standards are enhanced. When you look around, you see a space that you're proud of, that brings out the best of you, that brings the best of you into your leadership, and that inspires other people that you lead to do the same. Leadership on the outside must always start within. I think this is a classic manifestation of that. I wish you the best of luck. And as I said earlier in this episode, please do let me know how this resonates. I'd love to hear the impact it's had. I'd love to hear a little bit about what you've done with your environment and how it's inspiring you to bring the best of you to your leadership role. Thanks for listening to the Lonely Leader podcast. I'd be very grateful if you could share and follow if the content resonates. And if you're looking for additional free resource to support your continued growth and development, then please do check out our social media and website details in the show notes. Remember, quality leadership on the outside must always start within.